Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another week of Theorycrafting Thursday. Of course, as always, Proud and I are sitting here together. Hello, Proud.
Yeah, hi, dude.
And so, we're going to talk about Dota. So, we could start off with...
That's the plan, I think.
Yeah, it would be weird if we didn't, but who knows? Maybe if we have an April Fool's episode, we'll talk about League or something. But
we did that last week, so par for the fucking course.
Did we do that? But yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So we are going to talk about State of Affairs because that's the easiest way to get into it. And I know we've both been thoroughly enjoying 6.86.
Yeah.
For better or worse, I know.
For better.
I was gonna say for me it's for better. I know some friends have had a rough time of it. I believe friend of the show Grouty is on some kind of 8-game losing streak in 6.86, but he's an
Arc. Surprise. Yeah, he's freaking Arc Warden. So
yeah.
There's two camps. There's people who like the patch and people who have been encountering or playing Arc Warden.
Yeah, Roland's in a similar boat, but well, I'm sure he'll be talking about that at length on one of his shows. But yeah, so how's your week in Dota been?
Fucking fantastic. I'm actually okay with sharing my MMR again. So
nice.
Good stuff.
Which is?
Oh, it's let's see. What is my beautiful MMR at this point? We got back up to 4429 from our low depths that for one game did dip below 4K, which was very sad. I went up to 4.7 and then just no, this is gone. It's all fucking gone.
Yeah,
but we're making it back. Lone Druid got buffed. We're fine. Everything's okay.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure this happened to you too, but I hovered around 4K for a while. And also I don't play nearly as much ranked as you, but there were now I feel I'm at 4261 solo and 4407 party.
Oh,
so
nice.
Now I'm pretty confident that I won't have to worry about dropping down below and into 3K again.
Yeah.
Until wishful thinking maybe, but until however long from now I hit 5K, and then that'll be the struggle of trying to maintain. But now I feel I'm at a good what's the word? There's an actual word for it. I have enough padding that I don't think I could drop below 4.
Yeah.
But then you tell me your story of boy, you were 47 and you dropped below. So now I'm boy,
yeah,
anything can happen. Who knows? But who knows?
Yeah, again, that's always where I end up in games. It's I want to get good enough that I can just play casually and always be happy with how I do. But turns out that's never the case. That you're never going to be oh, I made it up to this MMR. I'm okay with dropping a couple hundred. No, you're not. You're not okay with that. It's very sad, and it just gets worse.
Yeah, it's all about minor goals, right? Or it's
yeah.
I'm 4261 solo right now. So maybe I want to hit 45. All right, I like to have my party and solo approximately the same, which is I play pretty equal amounts of each. I know there are a lot of people. I mean, yours are also very similar because you play a good amount of each. But I'm sure both of us have plenty of people on our friends list, and there are plenty of people listening that they're I don't know 4200 solo, let's say, but then their party is 36 or vice versa because some people have that disparity. So I'm happy that mine are more or less equal, and I'm happy that mine have just been rising. They haven't been rising super fast, but relative to the amount of games I play, I have a strong win rate, and especially 6.85. 6.85, I had for a while there, I had excuse me, an 80% win rate in ranked for a good month of 6.85. So I'm happy with my progress, and now that winter break has begun, I can actually play a lot of ranked.
Yeah, that's where I've been. As soon as I got off school, I was well, here's a week of ranked. I mean, that week was just minus 700, but then it's been going up, so we're okay.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm going away for a week, and I'm legitimately concerned. I'm boy, I'm not going to be able to play ranked after that for another week because I'm worried it's going to set me off my game if I don't play for a week.
You're going to have a day of rust. It's just, you got to prepare for it now.
Although I have arranged to quite possibly bring a laptop with Dota on it, so that I can play Dota while I'm on my
That's vacation. What's important. But, yeah, I mean, I traveled down to Southern California, and I'm going back to Maryland to see my family, and then come back here to Southern California, then go back up to Northern California, and I brought my monitor and keyboard and a set of speakers and everything for the whole trip, so
nice.
I'm dedicated.
Yep, everybody's got to have priorities.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll see, because I don't know. I've been really happy with my play recently. I mean, to use this typical state of affairs, what have I been playing question? I've been playing, a lot of Kunkka and Invoker as always, and then like other than that, I've just been kind of playing whatever, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's a really like holistic way to just like generally improve at like a steady pace. I'm not spamming anything. Although I did think about spamming Chen after the Wednesday episode from Wood Shrew and Korean Barbecue, where they did their patch analysis last week and they fixated on Chen. That hero and the pros have also been in WCA. They've been messing around with Chen, and I kind of want to spam that hero. So I played a few games as it, and good lord, am I bad at that hero. And
he's rough.
He's also really boring to me. Obviously, there are people that like him, but
no 4-staff Centaur stomp plays.
yeah, no, not yet. I am not at that level. We'll see. I think that might be a project sometime down the road.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I don't know.
I'm looking at your little Pentagon thing on the new Reborn stuff, and I was like, just kind of looking at your games, seeing how you were doing while you're talking. I'm like, oh yeah, his Pentagon, it's like pretty much average all around. Like he does a little bit of everything. Oh no, it's a little up in one direction. What is that? Oh, it's additional versatility. So yeah, fucking just you're doing everything right now. The only place you're off balance is the stat where you like are not off balance.
Yeah, I have dipped below. Like when I was first learning Kunkka, I think I got my versatility down to like 0.08. But no, I mean mine generally stays pretty pentagonal, whereas some other people, like I know yours, 'cause you've just been playing Lone Druid. Yours is like what? Your versatility is like at an all-time low.
My versatility is like 0.1, but that's because I was playing like Abaddon, and sometimes I have to support, even though I can play core in 4 lanes with fucking Lone Druid right now. But yeah, my Pentagon is just like 1 versatility or 0.1 versatility, a little bit of fighting, a little bit of farming, a little bit of supporting, and then just my push is at 0.96. So basically 1. It's all out. All I fucking do is push now. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dota after all is a game of objectives, and you got to push. So
yeah, so on your bear and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just been a pretty well-rounded player, for better or worse. Although maybe in an ideal world I wouldn't be, but the nature of I play a lot of just solo unranked, and just the nature of that is like, unless you're that jerk that's just like yo me mid or yo me carry, which knowing you, sometimes you are that person. Although unranked is different.
I just gesture that I'm that person. I'm like me mid. Me safe lane Lone Druid, or I feed, and then they take safe lane. I'm like, okay, I'll play Jakiro and support. Good game, guys. Have fun.
Yeah, it's like a game of chicken, right?
Well, that's someone picked Venge Core on my last game, and I was like, I don't say this often, but if you pick that, I'll just feed. Like, okay, I won't do it, and then he just like last picks it. I'm like, you piece of shit! I'm gonna support you.
yeah. Basically, I mean, different strokes for different folks, and some people they can just actually commit, and they're just like, all right, I'm gonna feed. Like, you and I played a game, right? And we had some guy that was like, this was 6.85, like a week ago. And I don't think, this wasn't the recorded episode, or the recorded game, but we had a guy that was just like, if you pick jungle, I'm going to feed. And when we had a jungle axe, and the axe, and the guy picked Ogre Magi, and he was just like, all right, you picked the jungle, we're going to lose anyway, so I may as well feed. So he literally just spends all his money on sentry wards and blocks all of the camps. And the axe was like, dude, I was going to go into the off lane, but now I'm not. And it's just such a message. Just like,
oh, Dota.
Yeah, as much as like that guy is the worst and I hate him, it's like you got to like admire someone who's just like, oh, I don't care about my MMR. It was solo MMR too. Like you and I were a party and it was 3 solos. And he was just like, nope, he just committed. He was like, all right, I don't need this 25 points. And he just friggin' ruined the entire
like
game.
Hour of his life.
Yeah, exactly. But, it is what it is, I suppose.
That's okay.
Some people, yeah. It's definitely, in any public game, you run into the wide swaths of different people. And for better or worse. Well, that's just the nature of queuing, I suppose, when you're not in a 5-stack. But all right, well, so tonight we will be doing, of course, as always, or as pretty much always, a duo lane, or at least picking 2 heroes. And so what heroes are we going to play today, Proud?
We are going to play not just Double Dragon, it's going to be Triple Dragon in some sense. We're going to do Jakiro and Dragon Knight.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know I don't like to play Dragon Knight very much.
That's too
And
bad for you.
I know you love him, and then
He's
I
the
love
best hero.
Jakiro. Although you also love Jakiro, so it's not as like
Yeah,
there's not as
Jakiro's
much
great.
duality. No pun intended. Oh boy, I should have thought this ahead and made a bunch of dragon puns,
Yeah,
but
shit.
boy,
We
rookie
lost.
mistake. But yeah, so I love Jakiro. Jakiro, both of these heroes got notable buffs in 6.86 that we discussed on our various platforms, and yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this lane. That's the simple way to say it.
It's gonna be good.
So generally we see Dragon Knight as a mid, and then Jakiro generally you see him as a support. Sometimes people can get away with like core Jakiro stuff, which is actually really good, but it's just
Yeah, off
rare.
Jakiro is not the worst thing.
Yeah, offlane. Yeah, you're right. Offlane Jakiro. Universe plays a lot of offlane Jakiro, or I shouldn't say a lot, but he plays a not insignificant amount.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the thing with Universe is he's actually just a support player. You just don't know it. He just like
yeah,
plays his supports in the off lane and then wins with them.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so Jakiro is one of my go-to like MMR heroes. Where like I mean, as evidenced by our pentagonal talk earlier, I play pretty much all the heroes with like I don't know a few exceptions. I have heroes that I play and then heroes that I absolutely hate. And
Dragon Knight, evidently.
no, I mean I don't hate Dragon Knight. I just find him like boring. Like it's kind of like playing a Viper for me. Where
Oh
like
my
sure
god.
I'll
How
play
could you?
Viper or like
How could you say
a
these
Razor.
things?
God, I hate Razors so
Putting
much.
Dragon Knight on that level. Jesus.
He's above them, but not by like a huge margin. But
Oh my god.
I mean I play him if like I really need
The
to.
damage is done, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, so I have a working knowledge of the hero, and it sounds like you play a decent amount of Jakiro, so we'll see how this all
It's
goes.
not a non-zero amount, which is what I
Not-
can't say that for most other heroes at this point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but before I got off on that tangent, yeah, Jakiro is a hero that I pick a lot in solo queue because he's a support that I feel like everybody has that like not everybody, but a lot of people have that stigma where they're like, oh, I supported so well, but it didn't matter because my carry fed or he didn't know how to farm, yada yada, and I can't do anything as a support. And I think Jakiro is one of like the best examples. Also, A, that mentality is silly and not true, but B, Jakiro is a really good example of a support that has like tangible effects on the game and
Yeah.
is very like high impact and high skill cap even. Like you wouldn't think he'd like just I mean he does a bunch of AoE damage, whatever. At face value you don't think he's like a high skill cap hero, but aiming that stuff and like deciding when to do everything and trying to get pushing done and trying to farm because I mean I am a greedy support player despite being a support player and the hero has a ton of room for like skill cap whereas
Yeah.
some other heroes maybe not so much.
Even just like knowing what to skill on him is like highly situational. It's not like, well, this is probably the best build on Jakiro, and then only in like extreme circumstances do you diverge a bit. I mean, like dual breath is like by far probably the best thing to max at this point, but like liquid fire has its place. Limiting liquid fire in terms of more ice path has its place. Like taking a point off of dual breath and getting a little more liquid fire or ice path. Like there's a lot of ways you can go for it. You can skip ulti. Like it's cool.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that's one of the things that draws me to the heroes. I really like playing heroes that have multiple skill builds and like room for adaptation. And Jakiro, like you said, is a perfect example of that. Where like, so I often will max liquid fire or max a dual breath, but liquid fire is perfect because if you're like if you have a greedy jungler or something, or if they have a greedy off lane and you just really need to zone him, you can max liquid fire and that guy's gonna be miserable the whole time. Or
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna push. We have a Razor mid or a DK, and we not DK. DK is a bad example, but we have something that's gonna get an early mech and we're gonna 5-man. Perfect. Get liquid fire, burn down towers, super easy. And yeah, and then like if you're fighting a lot, then get dual breath because that's gonna do more hero damage, stuff like that. I almost never level ice path past like 1 point over the other abilities. Obviously, eventually, yes, I max it. I don't go stats over ice path, but I generally go like 1-1-1 at level 3, and then depending on the lane, I'll either like level them equally, or level dual breath and liquid fire equally, or I will just pick one and go down that path. So I mean that we'll see. Thinking about our future game, as always, we'll see what skill build I end up doing in that game. But I imagine I'll probably do a liquid fire build. Just I really like that ability. It's not. I feel like I should have a better reason, but I just think it's really fun, and it's so annoying to play against that
Yeah, it
it
definitely
has that
is.
satisfaction.
And for the kind of try we try engagement, or not try we try, but like lane skirmishing engagements, the fact that plus your auto attacks do so much more damage now. I was about to say white damage. Your auto attacks do so much more damage now that like getting that extra like liquid fire has a cast range of 600
Hmm.
as opposed to his normal like what is it like 350 attack speed or
Yeah,
something? Attack range 400. Okay.
yeah. I was gonna say it's like 400.
Yeah, so like it helps you like harass more. It's better for like trading. It doesn't cost you any mana. It's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it definitely like when I play against it, I know like it's like mentally taxing almost to like be laning against it and just be like, oh my god, every 4 seconds I'm taking whatever it is, like 125 magic damage, and I'm
Yeah.
attacking slower and I'm moving slower and everything sucks. And so like when I'm playing as the Jakiro, I'm like, boy, I'm just going to make this person miserable because even if it's not doing, I mean, obviously it's doing a lot of damage, but there's like a really interesting mental implication of liquid fire. That's just like it's kind of like Tidebringer with Kunkka, where
Yeah.
like people like hate Linian's Tidebringer, not necessarily
Yeah.
because it's always like the best, but because it's just like I'm gonna be
Yeah.
almost constantly taking damage, and it's just so cancerous and annoying. And boy, I don't know what that. I mean, you're a Venomancer picker, so I suppose you're in the same boat of like really liking cancerous crap with
Yeah,
dot
it's
damage.
great.
But I've been known to enjoy a good Jakiro lane where like maybe I don't farm, maybe I just relax, but I'm just going to bother that person into oblivion, and they're going to be zoned forever. And then they're going to have to rotate supports up there, and then we kill them because I have a stun, I have slows, I have damage, I have dots, and now suddenly I have +7 base damage to my already
Yeah,
high
7
base
damage is so good. Like I'm so into that change. So, like the thing that brought Lion from like he has good disables, but like why would you pick him
Hmm.
into like pick him first pick in like DAC and shit is that he got 7 damage. So now he can like zone super well and like going from I think he had like 43 or something and now he has like 50 flat or I don't know something like that.
Yeah, something
But
like that.
but now he can actually like right click like a fucking real human being. Well, not a human being in his case, but he can fucking right click. He's relevant in like skirmishes. He can zone, and Jakiro was already a good zoner. You throw 7 damage on him, and like you can't come to lane anymore. It's done. Like he's just gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah, I honestly like. I'm definitely not looking a gift horse in the mouth, but excuse me. I'm amazed they gave this buff to Jakiro. I feel like maybe he needed like a small buff to like make him a little more relevant. But I already thought he was like a middle tier hero, and now with this, I feel like he's just so much better. And like it's one of these early game buffs to a hero that already has strong early game. Like I mean, Shakiro's weakness is that like into the late game he becomes a little less effective. I wouldn't even say it's a weakness. I'm like struggling to find a weakness of the hero because he's so like well rounded and he
Yeah.
offers so much to a team.
He doesn't have like very hard disable. I definitely think
Yeah.
that's true. His disable is kind of weak, and he doesn't really have a lot to stop you from just like going on him and killing him.
Yeah, and he needs a lot of XP and skill points.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be well leveled. Like liquid fire only hits like its full stride where you can keep it up at all times with its 4-second cooldown when it's like 4 points into it. But like dual breath, in my opinion, is like by far his best skill to max. It's a nuke that does 400 damage. Like
Yeah.
that, there's a premium on anything that does well more than 300 damage on a nuke. And it's
and
a
it
huge
slows.
AOE. Yeah, and it slows, and it attack speed slows, and it has a huge range, and it has a 10-second cooldown. Like it's sick fucking good. So he's a bunch of really good skills, and he needs points in all of them.
Yeah, I think actually, I don't think we've talked about this on the show before, but it's something that's always interested me. It's one of those things that I learned from a cast or some Dota video somewhere, and it really just like changed how I thought about the early game. But the idea is that in the early game, slows are better than stuns.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and in the late game, stuns are better than slows.
For sure.
And like, it doesn't like I'm trying to think. It's not like a revolutionary piece of information, but when you think about it, it is really true. And when you think about what heroes and what abilities are really good in the early game, it's all about the slows. Because with slows, so like the basic idea is that with slows in the early game, you're going to be doing base damage, and people's base damage is higher relative to health, and you're going to be doing more damage to them compared to in
Yeah.
the late game, where people are going to be doing so much damage, you need to stun them, not just slow them. And there are other like implications to it because like people don't have boots, so they're naturally slower and stuff like that. But overall, like that's the basic idea is that base damage is so significant in the early game, whereas in the late game it's not as significant, especially from supports. A late game Jakiro that's punching, I don't know, PL is not going to do that much. But in the early game, you could totally man fight a PL, especially with 7 base damage.
I'm just thinking like any time I off lane and I get like I was playing Abaddon off lane and I got it was like against Rubik Oracle and they just like fucking did that like their like 2.5 second route and just like a Rubik and an Oracle right clicking an Abaddon for 2.5 seconds. That was my health, and then he lifted me and pulled me back, and they did it again, and I had to salve off of like, I don't know, being in the lane for like 10 seconds, and I was like, well, that was fucking terrifying. Like, Rubik almost killed me with his auto attack. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, boy, Rubik. At least, well, I want to do a Rubik lane now. I love that hero. Yeah. He's actually, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but Rubik is one of these heroes. I wonder if you have these heroes too. I have like, I don't know, 40 or 50 Rubik games. And I have like an awful win rate with the hero. I think it's like 40%-ish. And it's just one of those heroes where like kind of like Tinker, more my Ember Spirit. Like I generally do really well on these heroes. And I don't have any like big flaws. But I just so happens that I have like a miserable win rate. And Rubik
I follow you. I've been of the opinion that I've been a really good wind runner for a really long wind ranger. I guess. Anyway, if I've been good at her for a long fucking time, but like, and this was like even before she got huge buffs. I just like played her a lot, and I fucking loved her. But I always lost on her. Like my win rate was like 30%. So I'd be like, hey guys, I'm gonna play Windrunner. I'm really good at her. And someone checked my profile. They're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
But like, I'm fucking good. And like now that she's decent, I still like lose every game when she's decent. But like I finally won one where I just like solo carried the fuck out of a game, and I was like, this isn't hard. And I was like, okay, so I am actually half decent at this hero. I'm not just fucking insane.
Yeah, there are times I feel cursed when I'm like playing certain heroes like Tinker or Rubik. Those are two that really jump out. Or Spectre. My Spectre win rate is abysmal. And like I have great like average GPM, average KDA, average XPM, but it just so happens that I just lose a lot. But I suppose that's a possibly what's called well, I mean a topic for another time, but it's like gosh. It's some kind of bias. Gosh, I'm a mess. But anyway, we'll continue with the combo, right? So we already talked about Jakiro a bit. What about Dragon Knight? Dragon Knight, what are you going to be doing on him?
What a hero. So there's a few builds with Dragon Knight, as was displayed in our .p in-houses earlier, where I played Dragon Knight twice.
Yep. And I beat you.
Yeah, that did happen.
Those are not on the YouTube channel, but they were really good. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
People should come to those in-houses. Are fun.
Game. I don't want to say you beat me, but that win did happen for your team.
I will say that my 4-man boats on the reg may have won the entire game for our team.
And I'll say our CK being in Roche Pit right after when we were trying to smoke gank may have lost us that game. But anyway,
I psyched him out.
Yeah, he's like, let's just not finish the smoke gank. I'll just like walk into Roche and let you guys go as 4. Anyway, so yeah, Dragon Knight, good hero. There's a few builds that I like on him. As he's gotten like the big buff for him is that Dragon's Blood now goes from giving you like, I don't know, 2, 5, some random horseshit.
2, 4, 6, 8.
2, 4, 6, 8.
So it's
not enough
150% of what
HP regen to appreciate. Go Dragon Knight. So he got changed. Now it's 3, 6, 9, 12, and those are bigger numbers than they were before.
Way bigger.
That's known as a buff. Yeah, way bigger by like most scientific metrics. Those are way larger numbers.
It's official.
Yeah, it's official numbers. So he's fucking legit. Now the old skill build, you'd like max breathe fire, get 1 point in Dragon Tail, 1 point in Dragon's Blood at 2 and 4 respectively, depending on how the lane's going. But now I think it's changed a little bit. People are going like 2 points in Dragon's Blood at like level 5, so you have like 2 breathe fire, 1 tail, 2 Dragon's Blood, just so you like have 6 HP regen, which is crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part that's kind of how it's gonna go. I really like having more points in breathe fire just because like that's where your damage comes from. But I don't know. It can depend on the lane a lot. If you really need the HP regen to stay in it, it's good. I can see leaving Breathe Fire at 3 points and then taking Dragon Split out, then maxing Breathe Fire, because its damage scaling goes like it gains 80 at level 2,
It gains 70 at level 3 and then 60 at level 4. So like maybe you kind of stop it there. And the mana cost also goes off. So like not leveling it up fully may not be the worst thing, and just focusing on this HP regen. It kind of depends where the damage is coming from on your team. But his skill build is basically pretty malleable in between if you want more nuke damage or more survivability. So I like that a lot. But in terms of item builds, the hero has a lot of choices. There are 2 initiation items, Shadow Blade and Blink Dagger, and that's like you go Blink if you need to catch people out more, or you go Shadow Blade if you need to do more right clicking and prowling around, or you don't go either of those and you just go Drums if you're like 5 manning.
Yeah.
So those are really the Dragon Knight builds in my opinion. All of them end up with BKB very quickly.
Yeah, of course.
'Cause the hero has crazy armor, and that means the only way to really kill you is magic damage. So you go BKB, and that doesn't happen. You push a lot with Elder Dragon form, so you try to end the game early. So having an early BKB isn't the worst if the game is just going to end in 20 minutes anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you just go AC after that. And I'm still not sure how I feel about this because I used to just not. I would go like Armlet and shit like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the Armlet seems even better now that you have that accelerated HP regen.
Yeah, I've never
with
been
it.
sure how I feel about that kind of logic because it's not like it's this kind of like I almost want to call it like fake synergy, or like people are implying there's synergy when I'm not even sure there really is.
Mhm.
Like Armlet takes away your HP regen and you have more HP regen, but like taking away your HP regen is not like that's not like a synergy. That's like I mean it's like you have this bonus and you're losing it. Like that's not really synergy. That's just losing your bonus, and they have the same words in them, and so you think they're related, but they're like kind of not.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like Dragon Knight's good now because he has HP regen. Don't throw that away. Like it doesn't. It's not better to throw away your HP regen, really. You know?
I mean, I that makes a lot of sense. On another level, I would think it's like, I mean, so Armlet on every hero that buys Armlet is a trade-off, right? You're trading off like negative HP regen basically for damage and HP. So
Yeah.
I would thinking about it as like a trade. Now you're just trading less because you have more HP regen to trade, and so now like you're losing less than you would have before. And Armlet was already I guess I'd say popular item on Dragon Knight. I'd say it was an item that was picked up a not insignificant amount of times. So I would
Yeah.
think like it becomes at least a little more appealing, especially I mean.
The only real synergy I think is like when you're not getting attacked and you have Armlet on. Having Armlet on doesn't make you like or like the HP regen kind of offsets the fact that Armlet is making you take less damage for your damage output. But like
Yep.
if you're being attacked and that HP regen would be relevant, it's like just as harmful as it is for anyone else. It's just that Dragon Knight's doesn't have health; he has regen.
Okay.
So
well,
yeah, I think if I was like doing like a glass cannon thing, like Armlet does just transform you from like tanky to more damagey. It just kind of shifts your equilibrium. And I think if you're not getting hit, and you're not worried about dying or getting focused, like you can go Armlet, and that's still probably legit. I don't know. I used to have more Armlet games than I did BKB games, and I play carry, so like that's saying something. So I love the item to death. There's no debate there. I just don't think it like has kind of lined up with the power creep in Dota for items right now.
yeah, I kind of agree. I'm also an Armlet believer. I have I don't want to say famous, maybe infamous is a better term, but Armlet's one of my go-to like items where I feel like I'm really ahead and I just want to try something weird. So like I have dozens of like Armlet Lena games and stuff like that because it's just like one of those really high skill cap items where like you could just do crazy stuff. Like remember
Yeah, I agree.
back when Sniper was super popular?
Yep.
Armlet
always
Sniper
comes
was
up.
a big thing. Yeah.
Always comes up.
And there are a lot of other heroes that can do Armlet stuff. Like I do Armlet Clockwork. If I'm having like a really good like super aggressive Clockwork game, and I just really like the item too. So I always wonder about its viability. I think like
I had an idea a while ago for Armlet Huskar, and I think that'd be good.
yeah, I can only imagine. You should try that. But the thing about Armlet that I think lends itself well, especially to this combo, is we're going to just have crazy pushing power, and that's like one of the core synergies of this combination, right? Is that once you have Elder Dragon form, and the Elder Dragon form has the additional dot damage to towers, and then I, of course, have Liquid Fire to do to towers, and so we could just rotate around, and I'm trying to think, like, 10 minutes ish, give or take, we can just rotate and just take like T1 top, T1 mid, T1 bottom, unless like they have crazy anti push like a coddle. And so when you have an armlet, armlets, the reason people buy armlets is basically because it gives you a lot of stats relative to its cost. So it's a really good like early to mid game fighting item. Kind of like that's why we see so much like armlet alchemist. Although I mean he compensates for that because of his ult, but that's a whole other point. But I think that's another benefit of armlet is if we're not planning to into late game, you can have those like efficient stats. But and
I can see. Yeah, I'm looking at it. And it's like, the armlet drains 40, and you have health regen of like 12. Plus, you have whatever regen from your strength, and armlet gives 7. So like basically, the drain on armlet is like halved. And like I want it to be good. But one of my big issues with Dragon Knight is like he doesn't right click for a lot of damage, and I'm a guy who wants to right click for any damage. Like even after like BKB, AC, and like if you went blink or all that instead of Shadow Blade, like you have 120 damage. With like I don't know, like a large amount of net worth of items. Like you got 10k net worth of items, but you only right click for 120. Yeah, and like that's not a big enough number to make anyone care about you. It's just like the debuff from your dragon form attacks, and then like breathe fire that does anything. So like an armlet that actually like radically increases your damage output. Like on Dragon Knight, normally I go like I think in one of the in-houses instead of going straight AC, I went like Shadow Blade Daedalus, and I was like, this is better. I like this more. I actually fucking kill people now, and then I go AC afterwards.
Yeah. I've always been conflicted on Daedalus builds with him because his base damage, like you say, is so like paltry compared to what you see on a lot of other common Daedalus carriers. Especially when you consider like if you buy a Daedalus, that's fine, but the rest of his item build up is a lot of like peripheral stats like attack speed and armor. So you have less items that are directly benefiting your Daedalus. Although I mean, obviously attack speed benefits Daedalus, but there are some interesting implications with the hero.
The thing with Daedalus is like it's when you math out like what increases your damage, even like with Dragon Knights, like let's say you have like AC and all that business and crazy amounts of attack speed, like Daedalus is almost always going to be the item that increases your right click output more, like to the point where on PA, since the change I'm not sure as much where it's more averaged out. But like with the previous Daedalus where it did less damage overall, even with PA, who already has a crit, Daedalus is the highest DPS output like increaser for her. So like Daedalus is just fucking awesome. If your goal is to do more damage, Daedalus is sick. And there's actually just no other like plus damage item that Dragon Knight's really interested in. Like you're not really gonna go Abyssal. MKB is like alright, but if no one has dodge, there's not a lot of relevance to it. And then like you're not gonna go Butterfly. You're not an Agi hero. So what do you do?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and then the answer is always like build an AC because that's like what any strength core, right? Any strength core is just like, boy, I don't know what to buy. I'm just gonna get an AC. It's like, so
it's like the only other option is like Armlet, but so it's like
or going like attack speed, like Mjolnir, Basher, stuff like that.
Right, but that's not like Basher because all the strength heroes are melee, so they get Abyssal, so they don't have that problem. But like Dragon Knight's ranged most of the time, he's not really going to go Abyssal. And Mjolnir, like he doesn't need attack speed. He does 120 damage. I mean it's decent because I mean Mjolnir also does more damage and all that sort of business, but it's not really getting anything from the -5 armor from your AC. And like I like Mjolnir pretty well, but Daedalus I feel like I've just had a lot of luck with. Once you crit someone, like I feel like there's a lot of value to like you do damage to someone and they're aware that you do damage to them, so they play more timidly.
Yeah,
and like they're afraid of it. Yeah, like you fucking like if you start out a fight with a crit, they value your damage and they want to hurt you. Like they want to make sure you don't do that again. Mm-hmm. But if you just do like a very small damage instance, like a lot, in between like having to stutter step and people walking away from you, there's just like something that I can't really measure. But like being able to like hit someone's health bar and like when someone loses health, they have like that white ghost of their health that like decreases after. Like if I don't see that when I'm hitting people, I just know that it's not going as well. Like my damage isn't as relevant. I want to see that white ghost health.
Makes a lot of sense. So do we have any other synergies we can that jump to mind? I mean, for me, the really big one is just pushing and our ability to hopefully coordinate like a strong 5-man where like I get my like I'll just go like mana boots, or I'll go treads. Once I have like one item basically, then and you have like your drums, treads, whatever. Then we can just 5-man and like push down towers and take map control. and again, like we talked about it, we're super like cancerous and like basically we demand the enemy team to react to us, right? Like they can't just ignore a
Yeah.
Jakiro and a Dragon Knight pushing down their lane.
Yeah, we're big ass motherfuckers. I think that's the synergy. Like
That's
we
true, too.
we show up in a team fight and fucking we're like dropping down AoE and breaths, and I'm this big ass dragon who's doing crazy ass shit. Like we're difficult to ignore. We're difficult to deal with. Our lane like demands to be dealt with. Otherwise, you're giving a Dragon Knight like free farm, and Jakiro is like knocking down your tower. And then if they engage into us, it's going to take them a long time to kill us. Which from Lone Druid, I know that like it doesn't matter if you die if it took them the entire team fight to kill you.
Yeah.
So like we kind of offer that to your team. It's like a huge space maker. And if it's safe lane, then we just threaten tier 2 at like 10 minutes, which is important enough on its own. So I think there's a lot to do with this. I've never been a big believer in Dragon Knight anywhere but mid. But I actually think that there's some viable stuff here. And if you do build Armlet on him, I'm starting to like this more and more with the change, honestly. If you do transition him from like that tanky guy into like high damage guy, as long as the game ends before 40 minutes, I think that's legit.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. This, like I said, I mean, I really like Jakiro. I play him in a variety of roles. I play him as like a really greedy support, where I will just get a Midas like ASAP, and I'll go like Treads Midas Yules, or Treads Midas Blink or Force, and so I'm interested. I probably won't be as greedy as I would like to be in this lane because I think we're trying to dominate the early so much. I don't think Midas is going to like Midas is like my fallback. Like I want to be relevant for the whole game, and I have a certain degree of distrust for pubs. So if if I'm in solo queue, I'm just like, all right. Like I played a Lina game earlier, and I went Midas, and I was like more farmed than our mid by the end of the game. Granted, our mid was bad, and I was playing very well, but still, like even even with that difference. If your 5-slot support that was also supporting a jungler is just through a Midas getting like similar XPM and GPM to your mid, like that's when Midas is like that's the item. So if I can
I love Midas, honestly. Like just the idea of like there's when Maelstrom was getting popular, people were like, oh, is Maelstrom just like better than Midas because it farms faster? Like there's a very cool thing about Midas that Midas creates farm. And like things like Battle Fury just take it faster. So I like Midas for supports a lot because it's a way for your supports to get farm that doesn't like piss your carries off and doesn't like limit them. Like a Naga eats farm from your team, an anti-mage like can get farm where other heroes might not be able to.
Huh, that makes so much sense. I've never heard it verbalized like that, but that is absolutely like the thought process that leads you to buying a Midas because it's just like if I'm playing a support, I primarily build Midas on supports. I'm not a like Loda-esque core Midas believer. Other than the XP is half the gain. So like I mean obviously I go Midas Invoker very often and stuff like that. But generally I buy on supports and it's exactly as you say. It creates farm. I can take one camp and get 190 gold and then kill the small creep and I get like a whole level off it. Whereas I don't have to like go and be like, hey, I need this lane for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
well, 5 minutes is an exaggeration, but
you
don't have to take it.
Lane. You can take it even further. You can Midas the small creep, and then like you literally created like 180 gold. Like there's the 10 from killing the small creep, and then 180 gold just like appeared to you. But if you do it to the large creep, you turned like 90 gold into however much. So it creates gold super well.
I suppose that's depending on the hero, right? So if you're like
CM, experience or
then you Midas the big one. But we've had this discussion before on a variety of episodes. That's like Midas 101. So I'm excited to play it. Do we have any closing notes before we go off and play our game? Hopefully for the better.
Who called the Dragon Knight?
What? No, you called the Dragon Knight? No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, are you quoting one of his lines?
Yeah.
God, I listen to. I have the Korean announcer pack, as everyone knows.
Who calls the Dragon Knight?
So
it's like that.
I have no knowledge of
more gold for my armor.
But congrats on that one, boy. Are you playing these out of your memory, or is this like
Dude, I've played this hero so much. Like he was my third most played for a while.
Oh, okay, all right.
Then he was bad, so I stopped playing him.
I've known that you're like a Dragon Knight player for a long time, but I did not realize he was like
Dude,
this,
last
this
Halloween
level.
I made a set of Dragon Knight armor out of cardboard. It's not painted still, but it's cool.
It's halfway there.
I have 130 Dragon Knight games, and I haven't played them for 3 months, so that gives you some perspective.
All right. Well, I look forward to breaking that 3 month. Oh, I mean, you played him in the in-house, so I suppose we've already.
Well, sure, yeah.
And yeah, you played him in multiple of the in-houses, didn't you? Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
You know, my history on it: 3 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, and then just like a straight period for like a year where I played him. So it's been about like 6 months since I've seriously played this hero. So I'm looking forward to playing him again.
all right. So on that note, we will close it out, and then after the break, you will hear us hopefully come back with tales of victory and our spoils of plus 25s raining from the skies.
That or bitching that someone fed and the game was bullshit.
Of course,
One of the two,
the Doppy way.
as always.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of our episode today. And we just finished our game. We played our Dragon Knight, our triple Dragon Lane, I suppose. And it was. I was telling Proud in the VOD. It was a roller coaster of emotions. That's how I would describe it. How about
Yeah,
you?
no debates there.
Yeah. So
It started out real good.
yeah, and by real good you mean awful.
Well, by started out, I mean like start, like the start of the start, where I had like perfect CS and
that.
the Juggernaut was like out of regen and out of lane.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I guess I'll just read off the teams. So, our team was a safe lane solo invoker, a mid solo tinker, a jungling legion commander, and then Jakiro Dragon Knight off lane. And the opposing team was a Rubik and Undying that were their supports that roamed, and then eventually they settled down in bottom lane to help the Juggernaut against us. And then they had a mid sniper, and they had an off lane Bristleback. So, basically, like, again, we said this in the VOD if you watched it, but one of our like pros was that we were saying that our lane demands attention at the very least, and attention is most definitely what we got.
Yeah,
That's
Well,
undeniable.
kind of thinking about it, like that really is what happened. Like they definitely wanted to aggro tri lane at the start. Like it was fucking Rubik Undying, and Rubik Undying is like a duo that I've seen run for like a long time, and I've played against teams who have that as their fucking like that's their fucking pocket strat. It's like a push strat with Rubik Undying. You live someone, pull them back into Tombstone, you win.
Yeah.
It's like that plus a Bristleback. Like that's hard as shit to go into. But then they saw it was like, you know, Jug is also a pretty good solo laner. So like, okay, this will be fine to do. But Jug was not having a good time of it, so they did have to rotate and change their plan to deal with it. And thus our Invoker got like basically free farm against this Bristleback, and Legion wasn't touched at all. So I'm thinking about it, and that is kind of basically what happened, and that was kind of our plan.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games where we like all the other lanes were doing really well, and ours was just like a just mess of like fighting, and Tombstone was used on cooldown, and I had 6 deaths by the end of the game. I think five of them were in lane. Yeah, 5 of them were in lane in that like
Probably,
early
yeah.
game within like the first like 10 minutes, and I was shut down real hard. And like you were saying, you had a really good like first few waves because originally they like aggro tried with like Rubik, Undying, Bristle, and they also like they first blooded top rune, and that was a mess. And at one point the score was 0-8 or 8-0 because we were dire.
Yep.
And so it was one of those games where like if you tunnel vision on your lane, you're just like, boy, we freaking lost. This is so bad. Everything is awful. But then in the long term, it went great. And like our cores, I mean, we ended up managing to have 4 farmed cores that all demanded attention, and like they just could not possibly kill all 4 of you. Especially like Jakiro. I would just stand in the back and just throw fire at people, and eventually had a mech to heal you guys, and we could just like we could extend these fights for a really long time. So it all worked out. That's I mean, we ended up winning. I don't know
Yeah.
if we said that already, but it was one of those games where like if you looked at it from if you looked at like the first 5 minutes, you'd be like, wow, this dire team got rolled.
Yeah.
But then like we just hit our stride, and we had like a solid next 20 or so minutes where we just dominated and like just walked around the map nuking people We had blink daggers on multiple people. You had a shadow blade. We did an invoker that was ghost walked everywhere, and we just kind of rolled through. We took towers. Everything went well, honestly.
Yeah, the thing about the laning phases, I think, like we did so well at the start that there's a lot of snowball heroes where you have to understand when your snowball has stopped, like Huskars who are still leaping on people 40 minutes in that die immediately, and like you're, let's say, I don't know, you're like 14-2 and then you die. That's not okay. Like you don't give up a free death at that point. And like Spirit Breakers charging too much, being too aggressive, that kind of thing. And that sort of was what happened to us. Like we shit on the Juggernaut, but then they rotated in. And then they killed us. We were like, okay, that's fine. We didn't expect that. And then, like, I was a little more aggressive than I ought to have been. And I was like, oh, they're killing Jakiro right now, but, like, I can get a trade kill. But no, that's not actually the case.
Yeah, and Undying kills everybody. And
yeah, and so I think if we just, like, respected the fact that, like, lane was lost, just, like, do the hard camp. Or maybe not lane was lost, but, like, we can't aggress in this lane anymore.
Yeah.
Do the hard camp, get some solo experience, let Dragon Knight stand alone in a safe spot, and, like, not position himself super aggressively for last hits and that kind of thing. Or, like, I jungle with my crazy regen and some AoE breaths, and, like if we just, like, triaged it a little more and didn't be like, oh, geez, there's a lot of damage, we keep dying, this sucks.
yeah,
By my third death, I think I was like, this is actually really stupid that I'm doing this right now.
yeah, it was one of those things where, like, I noticed that too, where I noticed myself, like, I kept going to the lane because I was like, something has got to be done here, and if I just like, it was one of those weird things where I was just thinking to myself, like, if I just position myself better, I won't get Blade Fury to death, and then like
You get lifted.
yeah, exactly, you get lifted and thrown back, or they throw a tombstone and then you're slowed, and then he Blade Furies you to death, and it was just not it's not like a fun lane, but. Again, like we said, like they had to focus so much on us, and sure, like we got kind of crapped on for whatever it was, 12 minutes. But then our other lanes that were super greedy, our team was remarkably greedy.
Yeah.
They got to just do whatever the heck they wanted.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking at the CS here, and it's like, all right, at 6 minutes I get 27, which is like not the worst considering Undying came in and all that business. And then like 4 minutes later, I got like 6 more CS after that.
Yeah.
So that lane definitely stopped going. It's mathematically proven. We did a lot less in lane after that point.
yeah, I know. Like I had a weird part in the beginning of the game where I was thinking like between the two of us, we're like tanky heroes relatively. So I was like, oh, we got killed like the first time with like Tombstone and a Blade Fury, etc. to us, and then so it's like, oh, okay, whatever. We can just come back to lane, and we're both pretty tanky. We can figure it out. We have good grasp. We can trade well, and then like we tried to do that like 3 times, and we just kept dying.
Yeah.
And
I would like look at my death, and it was like, looks like all the damage was 425 of Blade Fury, and fucking Rubik's like little blast for 200 damage. So that's so you're just dead. That you're dead now.
Yeah,
like, that's correct. Actually, you're right. That will kill me.
It was rough. I mean, we got our levels eventually, and then again, like once we started rotating, we could exert a lot of pressure, and we took a bunch of towers super fast, and we just really, it was just one of those things where like we hit our stride and we just snowballed, and Legion was winning duels. And I mean, last week we were complaining, no, 2 weeks ago we were complaining about like the prevalence of junglers, and now like they've kind of like re-incentivized junglers with the whole Iron Talon thing. And I mean, I guess jungling is going to be a thing in my games, but
yeah, when I'm playing Lone Druid, there have been games where like I mouse safe lane, I get safe lane stolen, and I'm not an asshole, so I'm like, okay, I'll go mid, I get mid stolen, I'm like, okay, I'll go off lane, and like someone randoms a clockwork 4th pick like you do in ranked all pick,
of course,
and I'm like, all right, like I'll jungle, like that's fine, that's not a big deal, and then I have like Phase, Trank, Bassi, Orb of Venom, Stout Quelling, Iron Talon at like 10 minutes or whatever, and I'm like going around ganking people when as soon as I hit 5 with Entangle. So it's like it's good, like jungling, maybe not good, but it's not the end of the world anymore if you have an Iron Talon jungler, because it goes so fast.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually just talking to Roland before the show about he's been doing some like interesting jungle stuff, and he was like even jungling Ogre Magi, and the idea of Iron Talon, or the item Iron Talon, I suppose, it lets you do so many jungles that you could not do before, and it lets you do it relatively efficiently. It kind of reminds me of like when people started figuring out how to choke point jungle, where they'd be like, all right, I'll just choke point jungle to level 2, and then when I hit level 2, then I can like actually be in lane, or like
Yeah.
I'll choke point jungle until I have this item, and then I can just straight up jungle. And so I
Yeah.
think Iron Talon is kind of revitalizing the viability of junglers. That said, I just don't like jungling, honestly.
Sure. I'm thinking about it in terms of like just like certain heroes that couldn't jungle before and like opening it up. It turns like basically every melee support, if it wants to, can kind of be Crystal Maiden, where like they can jungle hard camps in between, like when they don't have anything to do, they can jungle a hard camp in between like stacking and fucking harassing and shit.
Yeah,
Like
it's
on
interesting.
Treant, I could see maybe doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has potential, and I'm very interested, as with any patch, but this patch I feel like in particular, I'm very interested to see where it goes, and if like this is just a flash in the pan, and like a few weeks from now, people are gonna realize like, hey, jungling, sure you can technically do it, but it's still really not efficient. And then other times, and then same thing like maybe a month from now, every game is gonna have a jungler. So that remains to be seen. But I was pleasantly surprised with how the Legion commander succeeded in our jungle, considering how unsuccessful I've seen Legion's jungle in 6.85. I guess that was like the
Yeah.
frame of reference I had. So I mean, everything went well. She had a blink at a decent time, and she took some smart duels, which was nice. She was, or he, or she, whatever, was a good Legion, which was a pleasant surprise. And that helped us a lot for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because she ended up with like 160 dual damage, and I mean, again, like just think about their team. They have a Rubik and a Sniper and a Jug, and the Jug went Mask of Madness Yasha, so he didn't have a ton of stats. So Legion
Yeah.
commander could just blink on him and just kill him. Same
Yeah,
thing.
and if he's an attack speed build, she gets more Moment of Courages or whatever. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and she didn't even go Blade Mail, so like if she had gone Blade Mail, it would have been even better. Same thing with Tinker. Like Juggernaut would be farming away with Mask of Madness, or trying to escape with Mask of Madness, or trying to initiate with a Mask of Madness, and Tinker would just blink on him, rocket, laser, Dagon, dead.
Yeah.
I actually, I mean, we kind of talked about it in the VOD, but I was really interested. I mean, I talked about it in the first part how I play a decent amount of Tinker, and I have just like a not so great win rate, and I was just thinking about this Tinker. What he did was he bought an Aether Lens, and Aether Lens is so like game changing for a lot of heroes, I feel, and I'm very interested to try that in the future on Tinker, because again, like Aether Lens does not apply only to spells; it applies also to your what's called your
Items.
Yeah. So he could Dagon from an additional 200 units. He could laser
Yeah.
from additional 200 units. Actually,
I'm just such a fan of the fucking Bloodstone build right now, honestly. Like,
I like
I almost feel like the reason this guy did this was like, well, I got Dig on 5. I can't get Dig on 6. Might as well just get 8% more Dig on. Some other way.
Tinker. One of the weird things about Tinker for me is I like have the muscle memory down for like BOTs, bottle, soul ring. Like I have them in very specific places on my mouse, and I have it like all muscle memory. So when I upgrade to Bloodstone, I like feel so crippled. I'm like I don't have a soul ring, and it's so awkward. And like
Oh no, you just buy a Soul Ring after.
I know, I
Soul
do
Ring is
that.
still.
I do that most of the time. But I also swear by Bloodstone Tinker, because it's just one of those heroes where it's like, how often do you play a game against or with a Tinker, and like an entire game is decided by like they died at one inopportune time,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, hey, like this guy has like 1 billion net worth. We kill him, we get a ton of money, and if he doesn't have buyback, he's gonna have to wait so long
Yeah.
because he's just naturally high level.
That's the whole thing. Is like when you're against like an oppressive Tinker. Like Tinker is an oppressive hero. He will like fucking just make the map like not fun to be at. You can't push anything. He's this fucking awful overlord. And then like you get Bloodstones, like you're snowballing off the fact that you're this oppressive piece of shit. And the only way you beat an oppressive Tinker is like you kill him once, and then the whole map opens up, and you take like 3 objectives. But if you're Bloodstone, that's just not like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, even after the Bloodstone nerfs, where like I feel like the Bloodstone nerfs, significant as they were, like Bloodstone heroes are still Bloodstone heroes. Like your Storm is not suddenly going to be not buying Bloodstone.
Yeah.
And so I think Tinker definitely, that is an interesting path. This guy didn't go down, but I look forward to playing around with Aether Lens. I was joking that in this game I went. What did I go? I went like Brown Boots, Wand, or Wand, Brown Boots, I suppose, order-wise. And then I went Mana Boots, Mech, Greaves, Ghost Scepter, Aether Lens. And there's a Bassi in there somewhere, because you pointed out that we didn't have one. Although we did, because Legion ended up buying one, but whatever.
Oh yeah, for the Vlads at like 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, I didn't know when she had that,
Yeah.
but I completely forget where I was going with that statement, but eventually...
You just talking about your item build.
Yeah, my Aether Lens at the end, I bought with the intention of using, obviously, and but I bought it and I was dead, and then I rezzed, and it was like, I can't get to the fight, so I bought an Aether Lens and never got to use it.
Well, at least you ended with the Aether Lens, getting
Yeah.
that Aether Lens win rate up.
I was gonna say now I think I have 100% win rate with Aether Lens because I have not
Good
bought
job.
that item yet, but it was interesting. So again, to I guess focus on things that are not our lane. We were talking about how the Tinker opened with Null, double Fairy Fire, and then 2 Pool, and he had 6 slots, didn't he? I forget. Maybe like a branch or something. But
No, it was just the 2 Aethers. It's Null Talisman 2 Null Talisman 2 Fairy Fires.
Okay, for some reason I thought he had 6 slots. Anyway, that he had well, now I wish I knew exactly what it was. It was like 67 damage at level 1 because of
65. Yeah, it's fucking absurd. Like that's
Yeah.
a shit ton of damage.
boy, that's
like-
wild.
It's like being tiny but a ranged hero.
Yeah, that's something I've got to try on different heroes. Can you imagine how annoying a Viper coming to lane with double Fairy Fire Wraithband or something? Oh my god, just
Yeah.
thinking about it hurts my head.
I don't think you can do double Fairy Fire Wraithband. I think the cost difference is too much, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
I'm gonna calculate this out real quick.
No, I always feel silly because Dota is such a complicated game, right? And you learn so much information. The rudimentary stuff gets phased out of your memory. So if somebody asked me how much gold you start with, I could be like, all right, you can buy these items, but I would struggle to say you start with
Yeah.
700 gold. It's just one of those things. You don't even start.
625.
I was gonna say, I know.
I was like,
Yeah.
do I call you? Do I say anything?
I just threw out a random approximate number. But yeah, and I mean that's further evidence. But that's just one of those little things where it's all internalized. So
You're 10 gold short to start double Fairy Fire Wraithband. You can do Fairy Fire Branch Wraithband. That's legit.
yeah, well,
I think it's good to I mean, you in some cases that'll mean you don't have to ferry a salve over to yourself because you can just drop the branch and eat it with one of your shared tangos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just I mean we see this with every patch that introduces new items, right? Is we find new strats and people like Mangoes have revolutionized offlaning and stuff like that, and I'm very interested to see where Fairy Fire goes, and yeah, I mean I'm looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
I suppose we should close up our actual lane because we, of course, as always, we got off on our tangents about our team, and luckily, I mean, normally our tangent is oh my god, this person fed or this person flamed, and it was so annoying. But this was just hey, it was fine.
Interesting shit.
Even our 0 commend guy, our 0 commend invoker, his advertised 2 stats were just 0 commends, 0 commends. I was like, all right, cool.
He's proud.
That's
Wait, I'm proud. Fuck.
Jesus. I was like, oh, what a slip of the tongue. But then you got to make that joke.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I should have prepared more dragon jokes. I'm slacking.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway,
this lane though.
yeah, the lane. I think it's definitely a theoretical victory, and an execution, meh.
Middling execution.
Yeah. It could have been executed better, but considering how God forsaken, annoying the tri-lane we went up against was, we could have fed more. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's possible.
That's definitely one silver lining. I mean, cumulatively, we probably had 6 deaths over the first 10 minutes to them. Maybe more 5. So maybe we could have dropped that down to 3. But overall, I don't think the lane went as poorly as it could have. So I'm pretty happy with it. I would run it again. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I would say so too. We're also against like Juggernaut is a hero that you can pair with any two supports and he can be very threatening. Undying is a hero that you can pair with any carry and other support and he's terribly threatening. The two together plus the synergy of a Rubik pulling you back into the spin and back into the Tombstone. Like there are very few defensive tri-lanes that aren't dog shit terrible outside of like fucking up the offlaner
Mm-hmm.
that I would like dread going against. So the fact that we were able to like not lose terribly to that. I mean, we did lose. We personally lost terribly, but our team didn't.
Yeah.
So I think that was a win. Forcing them to come to our lane made our Invoker win, made our fucking Legion do fine. So I think if we just identified that we did a lot of damage just by having them come here and we didn't have to do anything in the lane, then it would have been like really, really good. Like if we just focused on that hard camp and like stacking it and burning it down with like liquid fire spam and fucking like Dragon Breath every so often and just like farmed that while the lane was unfarmable, I think that would have been really good.
Yeah, it's funny because like 6.86 is relatively new, and I don't know how many games I've actually played on 6.86. Probably around like 1 to 2 dozen, and so I don't think I've offlaned on Dire the entire time this patch has been out. So I was like, oh my god, we have a camp. I don't have offlane on either side actually. Now I think of it, I've mostly been midding and supporting, safe lane supporting. But so I was just, you were like, hey, go stack the camp. I was like, what is he talking about? Stacking missions? It's like, oh my god, we have a hard camp. This is revolutionary.
Yeah, I've offlaned a couple times because I've been forced to as an druid, of course. And it's when I do it, I'm not really like I'm an offlaner. I'm like I'm a guy who farms a hard camp every minute, and then also I defend this tower if there are like free creeps in front of it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good.
It's interesting. It has cool implications. I mean, we talked about it in our patch notes reviews, and it's basically they just threw more gold on the map, and it's just like you got to make of it what you will. So like certain offlaners can kind of ignore it, and then other ones like benefit hugely from it, like a Beastmaster, for instance, because Beastmaster now can stack both the hard camp and the ancient camp at once, with one use of axes, or you could do it manually with a boar and yourself, but it's very interesting to see how that progresses and whether additional offlaners that have not historically been viable are now going to be more viable because they have that fallback. And same thing with like offlane duos or whatever. So overall, I'm excited for the offlane changes. I'm just excited for everything. 6.86 is so fun, and like we have that like immediate post-patch high where it's like everything is new and fun. And some things are dumb and aggravating, like certain Aether Lens interactions and Arc Warden in general. I guess we should talk about Arc Warden, considering like we didn't like in our patch notes review we had not experienced fully.
We can briefly go over that guy.
Yeah, I mean we got time, so let's give our brief assessment of Arc Warden. So first off, have you played him?
No.
Okay. I also have not played him. I have played with him numerous times.
We're experts and have a lot to say about this topic.
It's definitely not an Arc Warden guide. It's more like these are our opinions regarding this hero. And do you want to start or should I?
You can start.
So I don't like Arc Warden. I think the hero is so like aggravating and I don't want to say counterintuitive. He's very different to any other hero in Dota. And I believe I said this earlier in the VOD or something, but any hero that has a mechanic that is singular to them is uniquely qualified to either be super annoying or confusing or sometimes just bad. So like like Oracle. Oracle's ult is a mechanic that is entirely unlike all of the basic mechanics. And so that makes him a very individual hero. It's the same thing with Arc Warden. Like, his bubble gives evasion, but other spells do that. And but his ult is entirely Arc Warden-esque, and that's it. And I think, like, maybe a few months from now, once the hero is, like, more fleshed out and, like, people know, like, these are, like, the few ways to play him more solidly, then I won't be bothered by the hero so much. But right now it's like that immediate post-release thing where like people are just playing him in the weirdest ways and for better or worse, and when you run against the good Arc Warden player you're like, boy, this is so aggravating, and then when you run against a bad one you're like, boy, this is the easiest game of my life. and people also like don't even know where to play him. Like some people play him as a one role carry, other people are running him as a mid. I think mid is probably the most common, although not necessarily because it's the best. And then we also see a lot of Arc Warden supports because you could just get a Midas. And then as long as you have a Midas, like you don't actually need to farm a lane or anything. And Grouty, again, to bring him up, he's been offlaning Arc Warden, so like you could just do so much with it. It's exciting. I don't know. It's exciting, but I also hate
Yeah,
it.
I have like I don't know. I have like a 75% win rate against this hero right now, according to Dota Buff. I'm just like I don't know, whatever. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's my analysis. He's just fucking. I don't give a fuck. Just fuck him.
Yeah.
No. More seriously. He's a piece of shit.
That's fair. That's eloquent. But
The only time I've seen him where I've been like legit is like, and not even like legit. Like this is dumb. And strong, but still dumb. It's like I saw like in 5K, like in 5K pubs. Apparently, there's like a couple people or like one dude who just plays all the time. Who they just go like fucking Divine Rapier, Mask of Madness, BKB, and like multiple Divine Rapiers and that kind of shit, and have like a fucking Moon Shard and stuff, and he just like sends his Tempest Double at a Rax and then like kills it. He like BKBs because you can keep a 10-second BKB if you just double yourself before you BKB yourself, and then you put 100% evasion down, and then you pop BKB and you pop Mask of Madness and you right click a tower and it dies through backdoor protection, and that's Arc Warden.
yeah, that's disgusting.
And then you can also do this like Necronomicon horseshit and like whatever. Okay, like you have lots of Necronomicons. Thank you. What a cool hero.
Yeah, it's weird because like I love Naga, and it's kind of like a similar idea, right? Where like you're making illusions and you're just like spreading the map and you're farming and you're just like sieging constantly with whether it's the Necrobook build or like with this physical damage rapier build. You just do, excuse me, this constant siege. And you would think I'd like it because I love Naga, but I'm not about the Arc Warden life. Maybe like a month from now, I'll be a devotee and I'll be like, yo, I love Arc Warden. He's my boy.
His spells I'm not that afraid of. Like I saw like a huge stack of like Spark Wraiths, and I just like walked my bear up to it, and then they were gone, and my bear was out like 500 health. I was like, okay, good job, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, fucking whatever. I mean, part of it, obviously Flux. I don't care about if I'm playing Lone Druid. Magnetic Field. I mean, it's like Magnetic Field. I think is his best spell. But his other ones, I don't know. He doesn't like do AOE damage. He has his fucking Tempest Double, which his main point is having like 2 Necronomicons. But like, unless you're ahead, like I was playing against an Arc Warden and he went Necronomicon, which is what you do, and he kept doing it, and I just killed them, and I was like, okay, thanks for 800 gold. Like, awesome, you did it. Like, not only do you get crazy gold from Midas, but now I get crazy gold from your Necronomicon. Fun trade-off. Good job, Arc Warden. I just feel like you don't get, like, unless this hero gets crazy far ahead and has 3 Rapiers, BKB, Mask of Madness, and fucking travels and that kind of thing, like, I don't see the value. Like, an Arc Warden that is behind is not a strong hero. I don't think he's a good mid. He doesn't have, like, a strong disable. Like, he doesn't have burst damage. I don't know. I don't think he's a very good safe laner outside of, like, a specific niche strat. And maybe as a 4, if you can, like maybe like you give him 1 position farm for like 5 minutes, and then you let like a less greedy core, like I don't know, like you let him get 1 position farm, and then you transfer like a Wraith King into farming or something. I could see that maybe like you have Wraith King jungle where Arc Warden is farming, and then when Arc Warden has his Midas, then Wraith King goes to farm. Like I could see doing that, but outside of like good coordination, I just don't think this is a pub hero like in any regard.
That's interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. Like now with the onset of Iron Talon, you can run like really greedy 4 slot supports and like just have an Iron Talon carry that like maybe like he gets like 3 levels or like a few levels in lane, and then he's just like, hey, support, you take lane, you get the farm, you get the XP, I'm gonna jungle, because now he can do that efficiently with an Iron Talon. That's interesting. I have not toyed with that idea before. That definitely has potential.
I may be kind of like biased in how good that is, because my drafting strategy, I have what I call carry guilt, where like I play support sometimes, and I play carry a lot, so I look at everything from the carry perspective, and then I play support, and I play support like from the carry perspective, like I try to like stack and do all this shit to help my carry. I don't farm when he's about to do anything.
But like, and then when I draft, I'm like, I don't want the support to be upset. So I'm gonna draft a way that like I can go to jungle and he can get his farm because I know how important that is. Because I know how important it is for me. It's like, I have carry guilt, so I try to do something where the supports also have a good time. That's why we like Lone Druid Shadow Shaman because I go to jungle, Shadow Shaman gets 6, we're a sweet duo, and he feels like I lift him up, be like, you're important too. It's okay to be support. So that's where that's coming from. But I think that could be kind of viable.
Yeah, again, like with any new patch, especially a huge one like this, there's tons of stuff to think about and tons of stuff to, I suppose, to titularly think about, or Theorycraft rather. Jesus, I messed that up. And I'm looking forward to it. Basically, whether it's crazy Iron Talon plays or Aether Lens abuse, or I don't even know, Dragon Lance stuff. I mean, the sniper in this game got a Dragon Lance, and it was like the most irrelevant thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But
like the thing with sniper is like if you're at max range, what's going to change whether or not I'm on you is not if you're another 200 yards away. It's whether or not I have blink or I initiated on you or I specter ulti. Like Dragonlance is not that's not going to change the dynamic of sniper.
yeah, it's like he already has his strength. You don't need to double down on his strength by
Yeah.
spending a bunch of money.
I'm so disappointed in that item. I was like so hype as soon as I saw like fucking Ogre Club, Quarterstaff. I'm so ready. I love all of these stats. Is this going to be like the old 4-staff where it was like this crazy cool like attack speed, damage, and int and shit? But no, it's just like only for ranged heroes, and no one can fit it into their item builds because no one has any room for it except for like TA maybe and Enchantress.
Yeah, it is. There are a lot of really good items that there's just like Aether Lens on Tinker. Exactly what we were talking about earlier. It sounds cool, and I'm sure, like, obviously it worked for this guy, but it's like you spend a relatively nominal amount of money, $22.50 or whatever Dragonlance costs, it's around 2,000, and, like, you just are starved for slots, and, like, well...
And it doesn't fill a huge gap, like...
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, like, if people say Dragonlance on Luna, I'm like, okay, so you need to go Boots, so you're not getting in before Treads. You need to go, like, Helm of the Dom so you can farm, so you're not going it before Helm of the Dom. You need Yasha so you can like farm and get to fight, so you're not going to get it before Yasha, and then like you can get it before Manta, but then after that comes your BKB. So like you get it and then you disassemble it in like 3 minutes. So like you delay your BKB by 900 gold so like you get your BKB a minute and a half later to like I don't know, for like this to have a Dragonlance for 3 minutes, or you could just have not built it and then like you lose a minute and a half of whatever the fuck and you're fine. Like it's just there's no hero has a gap in their item build for this.
Yeah, I think the example that you gave earlier, like TA and Enchantress, they have like clear gains from it, but because Enchantress, she's gonna do more damage, like she's gonna just do more damage straight up.
Yeah, it's basically like an Ags for 2,000 gold for Enchantress.
Exactly,
Different
exactly,
stats.
yeah. And then TA, it's basically just like another few levels in Sideblades, and and also both of them. Well,
your meld gets drastically easier to hit. You don't have to put yourself in danger nearly as much. It's like uniquely good for TA because she doesn't have like items that she desperately needs. She goes like Blink, Deso, and then whatever after that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It would be pretty silly if it worked on melee heroes. So I'm glad that doesn't exist. Oh my god,
Every hero is now tiny.
That would be the most obnoxious thing. Like Cleave would be the most overpowered.
Dude, I'm so sad that it like wasn't a melee item. Like as soon as I read like, okay, cool stats. All right, what does it do? It's something only for ranged heroes. I'm like, it gives strength. Fuck. Yeah. I wanted all of the heroes that I play are melee. Fuck you.
It could be okay on Drow, just because she needs to be farther away.
I don't know. You need so many items. Like an item that doesn't give you.
Yeah, I suppose it's like the
that
axe
hero
problem.
Needs to do some specific things. Yeah, it's like it doesn't do it doesn't feel your niche. If someone's gonna get on Drow, like Drow's pretty similar to Sniper in that like if someone's gonna get on her, it's because they blinked on her, and like an extra 200 range like
it's not gonna change that dynamic.
Your positioning is not that much better. I would rather just get move speed.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe in the future we'll end up buying a Dragonlance in a game, and then we can fully.
I did. Luna. It sucked.
Well, maybe even in a Theorycrafting Thursday game, then we can have.
Yeah.
We can have video on demand evidence.
I can show you how much it sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, that item's gonna get reworked in some way. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah. Those like super niche things, kind of like Rod of Atos. Atos is bought on like 2 heroes, and they just keep buffing it and keep buffing it. maybe Dragonlance is going to get something similar where like so few heroes buy it, they're going to try to incentivize other heroes to purchase it. So that remains to be seen. But I suppose we should just close it out. We've tangentially strayed enough for one episode, as always. But yeah, so I've been Ursinity, and I'm with Proud. You can find us on Twitter at Ursinity and at Proud Dota.
That's correct.
You can find the podcast at defenseofthepatients.com. You can also find it on podcast apps, whatever. I imagine if you're listening to this, that is not the most relevant piece of information, but you know, it is there. We have a nice new website. It's been fully fleshed out by Roland. I am blessed by my co-workers, compatriots with the podcast.
Compatriots, I like this one. Comrades, fellow
Because
citizens.
I have absolutely zero knowledge when it comes to like website design, and they made it look really nice. And we've got tons of nice content going up there. Of course, we have the new articles thing, and there's always new stuff. So you can also find new stuff, of course, on our subreddit r/Defense of the Patients. And again, you can email us .ptv or defenseofthepatients@gmail.com, .ptv@gmail.com. One of those. Just email all of them. Let's be honest. Just like spam a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully
Play in our in-houses. They're great.
Yeah,
On
in-houses
Thursday,
are super fun.
join our fucking chat channel. We have a guild. Well, more or less guilds are there now that we have like
That-
lobby
That is a
channels
very
and shit.
important point.
Can invite you to fucking .p.
So
You just go. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Fuck you.
I'll
So you
go
go to your fucking chat thing in Dota. You go to channels. You hit the plus thing. Type in .p. And then, just say something in there, and we'll invite you to the private .p channel for all our .p nerds. And there's a lot of geeks. We got a lot of geeks playing games. It's great. And the in-houses are fun as fuck. It's on Thursday at like 9 Eastern, kind of, I think.
give or take.
Good stuff. Yeah, and streamed and casted and stuff. I'm going to get 2 lobbies going at a time. I can fucking cast and stream and shit. Faf's doing that. It's a good time. Playing actual like Captain's Mode games and getting directed and directing other people. It's some true Dota shit. They don't get to complain. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is interesting. Like in the in-houses, there's generally like a few too many people for one lobby and a few too few for a second lobby. So and then of course like, people show up like 5 minutes late, and then like things have already started. So if we do get another few people to come, then we can do 2 lobbies. It'd be great. But yeah, and again, like Proud said, all of the hosts I believe are admins of the chat channel. So if you have any of them friended, send them a message, and then they just have to do a handy-dandy chat command, and they'll invite you, and then you just go to channels, private, you search .p, and you get right in. I know I've invited pretty much my entire friends list, so if you're friends with .p.ursi, then you have already been invited, most likely, I hope. And if I forgot, yell at me, and I will happily invite you, because that is what we're switching over to, and it is slow goings, because you have to invite individually. But in the long term, it is a much better system than the current like random open lobby .p channel, which we can monitor. We can only the best of the best are in this channel. Let's put it that way. But yeah, so I think that's all our plugs, and hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Again, remember, these have been our theories, and it's probably your fault.